In the year 2254, Earth was no longer the only player on the cosmic stage. Humanity had spread its reach, colonizing nearby star systems, but remained a minor species in the broader galactic community. Among the stars, few species were as revered and feared as the Valkyries of Vanaheim. Standing over 7 feet tall, with skin that shimmered like starlight, and eyes as deep and dark as black holes, they were a sight to behold. Their technology was unrivaled, their warriors unbeatable. To them, humans were nothing more than primitive creatures, barely worth their attention. Dr. Simon Harris, a xenobiologist, had spent his career studying alien species. His fascination with the Valkyries was unmatched, driven by a mix of awe and the scholarly pursuit of understanding the unknown. Simon had never seen a Valkyrie in person. That was about to change. On a routine mission to gather samples from a newly discovered planet in the Andromeda sector, Simon's ship, the Celestial Wanderer, encountered unexpected turbulence. The ship lurched violently, alarms blaring, as it was caught in the gravitational pull of an uncharted asteroid field. Despite the pilot's best efforts, a collision was inevitable. The impact was less severe than expected, but it crippled the Celestial Wanderer, leaving it adrift. Emergency protocols kicked in, and the crew prepared for a rough landing on the nearest planet, a small, seemingly uninhabited rock that hadn't even been named yet. The crash was survivable, but left the ship inoperable. Stranded, Simon and his crew set up a temporary camp. While repairs were underway, Simon ventured out to collect biological samples, hoping their misfortune could at least contribute to scientific discovery. As he was collecting samples, the ground trembled. Simon steadied himself and looked up to see a sight that took his breath away. A Valkyrie. She was magnificent, towering and imposing, clad in armor that seemed to absorb the light around her. Her expression was one of curiosity mixed with disdain. "Why do you invade my solitude, human?" she asked, her voice resonant and commanding. Simon, taken aback but determined to seize this opportunity, replied, "We didn't intend to land here. Our ship was damaged. I am Simon Harris, a scientist. I mean no harm." The Valkyrie observed him, her gaze piercing. "I am Skald, warden of the asteroid fields. This planet is under my watch. Your presence here is not welcome." Despite her words, there was a hint of intrigue in her eyes. Simon noticed this and decided to take a gamble. "Perhaps we can be of use to each other. My crew and I could assist you with your duties here, in exchange for your help in repairing our ship." Skald seemed to consider this for a moment. "Humans are weak and untrustworthy. Why should I accept your offer?" Simon's mind raced. He needed to find something that would appeal to her, something beyond the desperation of his situation. "We have access to technology and information from across different species in the galaxy. There might be something among our archives that could interest you. Knowledge, perhaps, that is as valuable to you as your help is to us." Skald paused, her expression unreadable. Finally, she spoke. "Very well, human. Show me this information you speak of. Prove your worth, and we shall see." Relieved, Simon nodded. "Thank you, Skald. I will not disappoint you." As they walked back to the camp, Simon knew that the stakes were high. He had to prove that humanity could be more than what the Valkyries believed. It was not just about survival now. It was about changing a millennia-old perception. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but for the first time, there was a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, one human could change the heart of a Valkyrie. As dawn broke over the alien landscape, the first rays of the system's twin suns pierced the thin atmosphere, casting long shadows across the makeshift human encampment. Skald, having agreed to a tentative truce, stood watchful over Simon and his crew as they worked to establish a secure data link with their ship's compromised systems. Simon, under the watchful gaze of the Valkyrie, directed his team to set up the communication relays. "Be quick and be precise," he instructed, aware that their survival might depend as much on diplomacy as on technical prowess. Inside the damaged hull of the Celestial Wanderer, Chief Engineer Lena Vasquez and her team labored over the tangled mess of circuits and conduits. "We need to reroute the main power line through the auxiliary grid," she barked, her voice echoing slightly in the cramped quarters. "And keep an eye on those pressure gauges. We can't afford a blowout. Back on the surface, Simon approached Scald, who was surveying the horizon with an air of detached superiority. "We're working as fast as we can," Simon said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "Your expertise on this planet's geography could significantly expedite our efforts." Scald turned, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Your reliance on technology is a weakness, one that is foreign to my kind. We survive by adapting to the environment, not bending it to our will." Simon nodded, understanding the contrast in philosophy. "And yet, there could be much to gain from combining our strengths. Your knowledge of the natural world and our technological capabilities." Scald considered this, her gaze shifting back to the horizon. "Perhaps, but remember, human, my assistance is not without cost. The knowledge you promise had better be of significant value." As they spoke, Lena's voice crackled over Simon's communicator. "Simon, we've got the comms up. We're ready to pull data from the Galactic Archives. What should we look for?" "Anything on Valkyrian technology or history," Simon replied, his voice low, conscious of Scald's acute hearing. "Anything that might be seen as valuable to a Valkyrie." Back at the camp, data streamed in from distant libraries and databases. Images of ancient artifacts, schematics of lost technologies, and texts from forgotten Valkyrian scholars filled the screens. Scald, observing the influx of information, stepped closer. Her interest piqued. She pointed to a diagram of a celestial engine, a device capable of stabilizing planetary orbits. We lost this knowledge to time. You can access more of this?" "Yes," Simon responded eagerly. "There's more, much more. This is just the surface." As the day progressed, the exchange of knowledge and skills grew more fluid. Scald shared insights into the planet's unique flora and fauna, which proved to be invaluable for the human survival and repair efforts. In turn, Simon showcased human ingenuity and technology, slowly dismantling the Valkyries' preconceptions about human limitations. By nightfall, a sense of cautious cooperation had replaced the initial tension. Scald watched the humans, her stance less rigid, a contemplative expression softening her stern features. She was beginning to see that these fragile, tech-dependent beings had their own form of strength. In the cool night air, as the twin suns set and the stars began to dominate the sky, Scald spoke, her voice reflecting a newfound respect. "Human, your kind might indeed be more than I judged. There is strength in your persistence." Simon smiled, sensing the shift in their dynamic. "And there's wisdom in your respect for nature, Scald. Perhaps together, we might find a balance." As the stars wheeled overhead, two disparate cultures, once separated by light years and prejudice, found a common ground, forging a tentative alliance that might one day bridge the gap between human and Valkyrie. In the dim light of early morning, with the twin suns just hinting at the horizon, Simon and Scald surveyed the terrain from a high vantage point near the camp. Their discussions had grown more animated, more involved, as each began to appreciate the depth of the other's knowledge. "We should consider exploring the northern crevasse," suggested Scald, pointing to a massive rift that split the landscape like a jagged scar. "Its ecosystems might hold the key to repairing your ship's life support systems naturally." Simon adjusted the scanner in his hands, aligning the device to measure environmental data from the direction Scald indicated. "Let's map it out then. And while we're at it, maybe your insights could lead us to discover new compounds, or even energy sources." The pair set out, equipped with tools and sensors, delving into the untouched wilds of the alien planet. The crevasse was a treasure trove of unique minerals and unknown plant species, each potentially invaluable for both scientific and practical purposes. As they worked, Scald demonstrated how to extract sap from a metallic-barked tree. "This sap," she explained, "acts as a natural adhesive and sealant, stronger than most synthetic bonds your people create." Fascinated, Simon took samples, imagining the myriad ways such technologies could benefit humanity. "Your understanding of natural resources is incredible. It's like each plant, each mineral here has a specific purpose. It is the Valkyrian way to coexist with our environment, to understand and utilize its gifts without overpowering it, Skald replied, her tone imbued with a hint of pride. Their expedition took them deeper into the crevasse, where the light of the twin suns barely reached. Here the air was cooler, the atmosphere dense with the scent of alien flora. The scanner beeped intermittently as it cataloged new data. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shuddered. Instinctively, Skald grabbed Simon, pulling him back as a fissure cracked open between them. Steam hissed from deep within the planet's crust, filling the air with a pungent metallic odor. "That was close," Simon gasped, heart racing. "Seismic activity?" "Yes, but it is unusual for this region," Skald noted, her brow furrowed in concern. "Something is destabilizing the planet's core. We need to investigate this." Their mission now took on a new urgency. Not only were they stranded, but they also faced a potentially catastrophic geological event. Returning to the camp, they relayed their findings to the crew and prepared for a more detailed geological survey. Using combined Valkyrian and human technology, they set up a network of seismic monitors around the crevasse. Data poured in, revealing a disturbing pattern of increasing instability. "We need to find the source of these disturbances," Simon declared, examining the seismic maps. "It's not just about getting off this planet anymore. We might need to prevent a disaster." Skald nodded in agreement. "This planet is part of Valkyrian territory. Saving it falls within my duties. Your cause is now mine as well." Together they worked tirelessly, analyzing patterns, predicting outcomes, and planning interventions. Skald's knowledge of Valkyrian engineering combined with human technological adaptability led to the development of a stabilization device intended to counteract the seismic disturbances. As they prepared to deploy the device, Skald looked at Simon with a newfound respect. "Your kind are full of surprises, Simon Harris. You blend curiosity with courage." Simon smiled, placing a hand on her armored shoulder. "And you, Skald, have shown me that wisdom often comes in understanding and respecting the forces of nature, not just challenging them." Their collaboration had begun out of necessity, but as they stood ready to address a crisis together, it was clear that a genuine bond had formed, one that might just redefine the future of human and Valkyrie relations across the stars. Under the ghostly glow of the twin suns nearing zenith, Simon and Skald approached the epicenter of the seismic disturbances with their newly constructed stabilization device in tow. The device, a marvel of combined technologies, hummed quietly, its core aglow with a pulsating blue light that illuminated the surrounding alien terrain. As they neared the site, the ground vibrations became more pronounced, the air charged with a palpable tension. Skald, more attuned to the planet's subtle shifts, paused and surveyed the area. "This is the place," she confirmed, her voice resonant with a mixture of resolve and concern. Simon set up the device, interfacing it with his portable console. "Once we activate this, it should begin to counterbalance the geological instability. If we've calculated correctly, the effect should be immediate." Skald assisted, her hands deftly adjusting the device's settings, her movements precise. "The balance of nature can be delicate. This must be done with care or we risk further destabilization." With a final check, Simon nodded, and together they activated the device. A deep thrumming sound filled the air, the ground beneath them rumbling as if in response. Minutes stretched like hours as they monitored the device's integration with the planet's core systems. Gradually, the tremors subsided, the eerie calm returning to the landscape. Simon exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. "Looks like it's working. The seismic activity is normalizing." Skald, however, remained vigilant, her eyes scanning the readouts. "We have stemmed the immediate threat, but this is a temporary solution. The core's instability may be symptomatic of a deeper, possibly more catastrophic condition." Their success, albeit limited, offered a brief respite, and they used this time to gather more data. Simon proposed a deeper exploration into the planet's subterranean layers. "We need to understand what caused this instability. There could be other factors at play, natural or otherwise." With renewed purpose, they ventured into a network of caverns below the surface, their path lit by the luminescent flora that clung to the cavern walls. These explorations revealed a series of natural chambers filled with crystalline structures, vibrating softly, harmonizing with the planet itself. It seems these crystals are integral to the planet's structural integrity, Simon hypothesized, examining a particularly vibrant shard. They might be amplifying the planet's core energy, for better or worse. Skald, fascinated, took a sample of the crystal. Valkyrian legends speak of the heart of the world, crystals that maintain the life force of a planet. Perhaps these legends are rooted in forgotten truths. Their findings hinted at ancient technologies or natural phenomena that once balanced the planet's geological forces. Inspired by this revelation, they devised a plan to enhance the stabilization device, integrating it with the crystalline network to create a more permanent solution. Back at the surface, they worked alongside the crew to modify the device, incorporating the crystalline samples. The atmosphere at the camp was one of cautious optimism, mixed with a sense of wonder at the complexities of the universe they were beginning to uncover. As they prepared for the final phase of their mission, Skald's demeanor had shifted noticeably. The initial disdain for humanity's reliance on technology had given way to an appreciation of their ingenuity and spirit. "Simon, your people's capacity for innovation, it's not merely survival, it's an art form." Simon, pleased with the Valkyries' acknowledgement, smiled warmly. "And your people's deep connection with nature, Skald, it's not just tradition, it's wisdom." Together, they returned to the site with the enhanced device, ready to integrate it fully into the planet's geological fabric. This collaboration, once born of necessity, was now driven by mutual respect and a shared commitment to preserving the intricate balance of this alien world. The final adjustments to the stabilization device were intricate, requiring both human and Valkyrie technology to sync perfectly with the planet's natural energies. Simon and Skald, surrounded by a team of eager engineers and scientists, implemented the integration protocols under the fading light of the setting suns. Their hands moved with precision, each action underpinned by the weight of what was at stake. "This should do it," Simon murmured as he sealed the last circuit. The device now resembled a large, glowing orb, its surface etched with patterns that mirrored the crystalline structures they had found underground. Skald, observing every detail, nodded slowly. "It's more than just a machine now. It's part of the planet." Activating the device, they watched as it began to pulse rhythmically, each beat sending waves of energy deep into the planet's crust. The surrounding environment responded almost immediately, the air vibrating with newfound stability, the earlier tremors now just a memory. As the device's hum settled into a steady thrum, Simon turned to Skald. "We should monitor the effects over the next few days, ensure that everything is truly in balance." Agreeing, Skald motioned to her team to set up long-term monitoring stations around the site. "We will watch it closely, but I believe we have achieved what we set out to do." The next days were spent in a flurry of activity. Simon, Skald, and their teams traversed the planet, taking measurements, observing changes, and collecting data. The planet's wildlife, previously agitated by the seismic disruptions, now roamed more peacefully, their behaviors normalizing as the planet itself calmed. One evening, as they gathered around a campfire built from the glowing branches of the local flora, the conversation turned to the future. "What you have done here," Skald began, her voice reflecting a mix of admiration and introspection, "is not common among the stars. Few species dare to tread so respectfully on foreign soil." Simon looked around at his team, pride swelling in his chest. "We're not just explorers or scientists. We're caretakers of the worlds we touch. That's the ideal, anyway." "And what are the Valkyries?" asked Lena, the chief engineer, her curiosity piqued by the shift in their former adversary's demeanor. Skald's gaze turned starward, where the night sky was alight with constellations unknown to human eyes. "We have much to ponder. This cooperation has shown me that perhaps we are more than guardians of tradition. There is room for growth, for learning." The nights passed with shared stories and plans for future collaborations. The planet had become a test bed for interspecies cooperation, a symbol of what could be achieved when two vastly different cultures found common ground. On the final day of their stay, as the celestial wanderer was nearly ready to embark towards Earth, Simon and Skald stood overlooking the valley where the device thrummed in harmony with the living planet. "You should come with us," Simon suggested, half joking, half serious. "See Earth, meet more of our kind." Skald considered the offer, her expression unreadable. "Perhaps one day I will, to learn, to understand more of your kind." She then handed Simon a small crystalline shard, its surface pulsing with a gentle light, "a token of our planet and a reminder of what we've achieved here." Simon accepted the crystal, feeling its warmth seep into his skin. "And you'll always be welcome on Earth, Skald. Maybe together, we can change how the universe sees both our species." As the celestial wanderer lifted off, leaving the planet behind, Simon watched through the viewport as Skald stood there, a solitary figure against the vast landscape, her figure diminishing but her impact everlasting. On board, the crew was silent, each person reflecting on the unexpected friendships and alliances formed in the face of adversity. The ship set its course for Earth, its engines humming with the promise of home, and the horizon ahead filled with possibilities for a future where human and Valkyrie paths might intertwine under more peaceful skies. As the celestial wanderer cleaved through the void of space, the crew adjusted to the rhythm of travel, the recent memories of the alien planet still vivid in their minds. Simon spent his days poring over the data they had collected, but his thoughts often drifted back to Skald and the crystalline shard she had given him. The shard seemed to pulse with a life of its own, a constant reminder of the bond they had forged. Meanwhile, news of their cooperative success with the Valkyries had reached Earth ahead of them, sparking interest and debate among various scientific and diplomatic circles. The United Earth government, intrigued by the potential for further alliances, prepared for the crew's return with keen interest. Upon entering Earth's orbit, the celestial wanderer was greeted by a fleet of welcoming ships, a testament to the significance of their mission's success. The crew, once viewed as mere explorers, were now heralded as pioneers of a new frontier in interspecies relations. The landing was broadcast live, with millions watching as the hatch opened, and Simon stepped out, holding the pulsating crystal high. It served as a symbol of hope and cooperation, a tangible result of human ingenuity paired with Valkyrian wisdom. Simon was quickly ushered into a series of briefings and debriefings. The United Earth government was eager to learn everything about the Valkyries' technology and culture. "Your mission has opened a new chapter for humanity," the Secretary General said during a high-level meeting. "We must navigate this relationship with the utmost care and respect." Plans were put into motion to establish a formal diplomatic envoy to Vanaheim, the Valkyrian homeworld. Simon, due to his unique experience and rapport with Skald, was appointed as a key advisor. His new role would leverage his deep understanding of Valkyrian culture to foster a lasting alliance. In the midst of these developments, Simon arranged for the crystal to be studied by top scientists. It was not merely a source of energy. It contained complex data patterns that hinted at the advanced nature of Valkyrian civilization. "This crystal isn't just a gift, it's a library of knowledge," explained Dr. Elise Nguyen, the lead researcher. The revelation prompted further excitement and a sense of urgency to delve deeper into the technologies and philosophies of the Valkyries. Universities and research institutions worldwide were granted access to the findings, sparking a renaissance of scientific inquiry and philosophical debate about humanity's place in the cosmos. Amidst the whirlwind of activity, Simon found moments of quiet to reflect on his experiences and the path ahead. He often communicated with Skald via secure channels, sharing Earth's reactions and the growing enthusiasm for interstellar cooperation. Skald, in turn, expressed her people's cautious optimism about the burgeoning relationship with humanity. "We stand at the threshold of a new understanding," Skald's message echoed one evening. "Let us proceed with wisdom and courage." As the preparations for the first diplomatic mission to Vanaheim continued, Simon felt a profound sense of duty. His next visit to Skald's world would not be as a stranded scientist, but as an ambassador of Earth, bearing the hopes of his world for a peaceful and prosperous future. The crystal, now housed in a specially designed display at the United Nations headquarters, shone under the soft lights, a beacon of the potential for unity and shared destiny among the stars. It symbolized not only what had been achieved, but also the endless possibilities that lay ahead. As Simon looked at the schedules, the plans, and the blueprints for tomorrow, he knew the real work was just beginning. The celestial wanderer might have brought him home, but his heart was set on the stars, on Vanaheim, and on the bridges yet to be built.